Kara, and today we are going to talk about and read, potentially, the best books of 2023, according to my sources, which involved a lot of scouring the internet. Booktube, the Goodreads Choice Awards, NPR's Books We Love, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, I will link it down below. It's amazing. And Novelist, which is a database that we have at the library, which also picks their best books of the year. I used those sources to come up with a list of books that I wanted to consider for this video. Pretty much what I did was I just tallied each time I saw the book, and I didn't do like a comprehensive deep dive into it like some other channels have done. Maybe that will be me in the future. But I wanted to share with you the books that I actually did pick, and then you will watch me read them and hear my thoughts about them throughout the video. I'm just gonna tell you about the books that I chose and why I chose them. I didn't really go by genre or anything like that. I just kind of picked the books that showed up the most in my research, and that's what you're seeing in this video. So two of the books that showed up the most, I had actually pretty much already decided I wanted to read for this video, and I had a feeling were gonna be some of the top contenders. I think they had like 5 or 6 votes each, and that was Tom Lake and Bright Young Women. And I had just heard nothing but good things about them so far already, and I had been keeping my eye out for them and knew that they were like forthcoming in 2023, and then I didn't get to them, and that by the end of 2023 everyone was talking about them. So I knew I kind of wanted to do both of those in this video. When Monstrilio came up several times, I was actually kind of surprised because I think the only booktuber I've heard talk about this book or like seen read it is Kayla from Books and La. But Monstrilio was on the Goodreads Choice Awards list, the Novelist list, I think, and NPR's Books We Love. It was also on there. So I, took that as my sign to read it. And also whenever Kayla says she likes something, I have to check it out too. Chang'an All-Stars is the book that we picked to read for our library book club in January. And so I was already gonna read it, but I decided to include it in this video as well because I have also seen it on some of the lists, especially Goodreads and NPR Books We Love. So it was on all of the lists that I just previously mentioned as well. And then some YouTubers definitely mentioned it in their favorites list. So I thought, it's a little bit of a coinky dink, but we can include it as well. The most obvious choice for this video didn't actually dawn on me until I was doing my research and realized that it was the most mentioned book out there. I was already planning to read this book for a different video, but then I decided to go ahead and read it for this one, and that is Fourth Wing. Yes, I'm reading Fourth Wing. Don't get too excited yet. The last book I ended up choosing for this video, I unfortunately am not going to share with you guys because I didn't realize until after I had waited 2 weeks for the library to get my hold in that it was a St. Martin's Press book. And I am choosing not to promote St. Martin's Press books during this time because if you didn't know, some creators are currently boycotting St. Martin's Press because there has been some racist discourse being spread by one of their employees. St. Martin's Press has not taken any action to resolve this issue, and so some creators have decided to stage a boycott against them. It's a marketing boycott, which means that we are still encouraged to read and purchase the books to support the authors, but not to talk about them or promote them or rate them, because that's, giving St. Martin's Press free labor, and that isn't the last thing we want right now. So until St. Martin's Press speaks up, I am not going to be promoting their books on my platform. And I just wanted to clear the air about that. And also, I haven't really seen anybody on YouTube talking about this, so I'm not, naming any names or blaming anyone or anything like that. I think it's more of a thing on TikTok right now, but I just wanted to let y'all know where I stand on that. If you want more information about the St. Martin's Press boycott, please head over to Readers for Accountability. I will link them in the description box. They are the platform that is behind the boycott, and they have much more articulate information about why this is happening, some FAQs about it, and what we can do to support our Palestinian and Muslim creators in this community during this time. So yeah, just head over there for some more information, and I just wanted to speak a little bit briefly about it because I did a whoopsie and yeah, I just wanted to let y'all know about why I would not be talking about the book. All I will say about it is that the reason why I chose it in the first place is because it showed up on the Goodreads Choice Awards twice, and I was a little bit surprised by that because I hadn't actually heard too much about it. And then I also saw that a couple creators chose it for their best book, one of their best books of the year. And so I just wanted to see what the fuss was about, basically. So I am still gonna read it, but you just won't hear me talk about it yet. Hopefully I will be able to talk to you about it soon. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and see what book I start first. So I asked Matthew last night which book I should start with for this video because I have several options and I literally can't choose. And somehow this is also going to be the first book that I read this year, so it feels like a lot of pressure. But I'm picking, well, he picked Changing All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. This one has been pitched to me as an adult Hunger Games. Apparently, there are prisoners in this world who belong to this really dystopian, authoritarian prison system, and they have to fight to the death for the entertainment of the public / government / not sure exactly who. It will become clear to me later. The two main characters in this book, based off of the synopsis, are teammates and they're also lovers, and they have to survive in this bizarre situation. And I learned a new word, and that is excoriating. This novel has been described as such, and to excoriate something means to abrasively reveal something. I think this is kind of a commentary on the horrors of the prison system in our current society today, and not just a dystopian novel about it, which is why that word was used. This is the dedication, part of the dedication. I hope the universe love you today, by Kendrick Lamar. There has been a development at this point, and I didn't think it was going to happen so early, but it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening right now. I was going to wait till the end of the video to read that book, but I have the library copy because I do not own it. This book is so popular, it already has another hold on it, so I cannot renew my hold. So I have to return this by next week. So I have to read it. So I was able to get my hands on Hoopla, the graphic audio of the first half of this book, which I've started listening to. I'm only a few minutes in, but I think it's going to help me get into the book, right? And then I will have to finish the rest of it just by reading. We will see how it goes. This is a not necessarily highly anticipated read of mine, but it is intimidating because I really cannot tell what I'm going to feel about this. He started skipping.
Hi guys, here we are today at Birmingham Botanic Garden. this Japanese garden area. A lot of bamboo, a lot of bonsai, got some streams and stuff.
Right now where literally all I want to do is read, but I can't. I have to do other stuff like work, provide for myself, deal with freezing weather, do errands, and all I want to do is read. And this is what I want to read, and that's cray. There's just the beginning of the year has so much new potential, and there's so much for me to read this year, and it's so exciting, but I can't even like dig my talons into this year yet because I have to be an adult. Anyway, I will give you a real update later. I'm sorry. It has taken me forever to pick which book to start, go with it, read that book, find another book, or get another book on hold in the library and start reading that. And then that other book had to go back because it's such a popular book. I couldn't keep it for another 2 weeks to hold it up to you. So I started listening to that book on audio. And I just finished it yesterday, or actually this morning, because I woke up really early this morning and finished the last hour I had. When I first started this video, I started Chain Gang All Stars, which I still haven't finished. And I would like to finish today. I'll let you know if that happens. But right now we're talking about the other book that I already finished for this video. That book is a book that I thought I was going to be able to read at the end of the video to make it a little bit more exciting for you. But we're throwing it in the middle, or really at the beginning, because it was the book that I got first and it's the most popular book that I had. So when I checked it out, I only had it for 2 weeks and then I couldn't renew it, so I can't like show it to you, and I wanted to. The first book that I read was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I knew I probably wasn't gonna love it, but I knew I was gonna like it or I was gonna hate it. So the good news is I don't hate it, but I definitely have a list of things that bothered me about the book, and I gave it a 3 stars overall. I'm kind of annoyed that I don't have like a midway checkpoint for you about Fourth Wing, but when I was reading it, I just really didn't have any other thoughts other than what's gonna happen next. You know, I didn't really like care about the characters at all. So when I was reading it, I was like, I just wasn't having any of those giddy moments that people have when, you know, they're making check-ins and talking about what the characters are doing. I cared a lot more about the dragons than I did about Violet and Xaden. The other characters were like, whatever, they're not really even big parts of the story. But the way that I feel about Violet Sorrengail is the way that I feel about Feyre, but way more apathetic. Like, I don't, when I read A Court of Thorns and Roses and I met Feyre and she was, you know, the main character throughout the whole series, I was kind of like, I like this story, I like the books, but I don't really like Feyre the whole time. That's how I feel about Violet, except I care even less. And Xaden is basically just a Rhysand wannabe. He's Rhysand in every way except name. Pretty much. So if that's what you're into, if you just want another ACOTAR, you know, wannabe, basically. And I'm not saying that the rest of the story was just like ACOTAR, because it's not at all. It's way more about this country's or province's world building, especially within the military and the political system that they have. It's a war fantasy. they aren't actually in war, but you know, it's about preparing for war, and they're all cadets at a military college. And honestly, I found that a lot more enjoyable than I thought I was going to, because I care so little about the military. I do not want to read books about it. But Navarre was pretty interesting to learn about. The dragons were interesting to learn about. The politics and the world building and the intricacies of the world, the powers that they can have, that stuff was interesting. I thought that, like I said, the dragons were the most interesting. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to spoil. I don't want to get into spoiler territory at all. But all I will say is, with the dragons having the connection to the humans that they do, the sex scenes should have been way more spicy. Okay? They were vanilla. They were vanilla. I did not like them. Which, you know what? It's fine. This is a book that is supposed to have mass appeal. And so I get that it's not like a Kindle Unlimited paranormal romance type beat. Okay? I thought that some of the character names were a little bit too similar. Which annoyed me. Like, there's a character named Nolan and there's a character named Naolan, and I got them confused. Like, I was confused. I was like, wait, didn't that character do this? And there was, who are we talking about here? And they're not really that important to the story, but it was just kind of annoying. And then I listened to 2 different versions of the audiobook, because on Hoopla, they had the graphic audio first part. The second part isn't even released yet, so I couldn't listen to that. So I listened to the second part of it on the regular audiobook, which was on Everend. And because I had to take my book back. And they were pretty consistent. And honestly, the regular audiobook was fine. It was great. The graphic audio was really fun. And I listened to it with Matthew a little bit for the first few hours of it while we were on a road trip last weekend. And that was fun. But the way that the characters pronounced some things in the graphic audio annoyed me. And then I realized that it was just the way that Rebecca Yarros was writing about it, like damned, the word damned instead of damn, which that was annoying. There's a lot of oh shit and fuck, and I didn't really like that either. I thought it was a little bit gratuitous. They pronounced macabre wrong. It's pronounced macabre, not macabre. Also, there was just way too much, Satan is gonna kill me. Satan is gonna kill me. Oh no. No, he's not, girl. No, he's not. You're gonna hook up. We all know that. He was not scary to me. If he was supposed to be, then I don't know. Basically, I was in an audiobook mood, so I had a pretty fun time with it. I didn't feel like there were really any pacing issues, which was good. Like, the story itself was like, there weren't any parts that I felt were too rushed or too long, except some of the battle scenes I thought were a little bit too long because they were like 2 chapters long. It didn't really feel too insta-lovey, but the enemies trope was 100% forced. I did not believe it for a second. And then there's a big plot twist at the very end of the book that really makes me want to pick up the next one, but that's not happening right now, okay? We have other books to focus on, and you will see in a few minutes when we get to the books. But yeah, I read Fourth Wing, and I gave it 3 stars. I did not like it as much as A Court of Thorns and Roses. It gave me the vibe. I did like it, but it was not stand out to me. I'm sure there are other Dragon Rider fantasy books out there that are better, and I will find them one day. But I feel like I'd be doing my YouTube channel a disservice if I did not read and review the book that everybody was talking about last year. And was I influenced to read it a little bit? Yes, but that's kind of the whole point of this video. So that was Fourth Wing. Okay, my plans for now are to finish Chain Gang All-Stars and then tell you about it. We have a book club meeting for it next week, so fingers crossed I can film a clip before next week. And then I still have 4 other books to read for this video, so we are gonna see. I'm slacking. I think the problem was that I couldn't pick the first book, and so I was just like on the fence about it, and then I ended up reading 2 at once, which was like completely going back on the goal that I set to read 1 book at a time, but I guess it's just not meant to be right now. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna get ready to go to work, and I will see you later. tripod, which I haven't actually used for vlogging. It has like, I don't know if you can see, but it's like this retractable arm with a tripod, and then I can do this. It's pretty awesome. So we are just going to talk about some updates that I have. This weekend, I really wanted to focus on reading, and so I didn't vlog that much, but I did read. And I'm finally over the halfway point of this vlog, which is awesome. And I just wanted to wrap a few things up and talk about a book that I haven't talked to you about yet. So first and foremost, I finished Chain Gang All-Stars. This took me most of the month to read. And I have a few tabs here because we are going to talk about this book in Library Book Club this month. And so there's a few things that I wanted to bring up for discussion. I haven't really talked much about this book in this vlog because I think my experience of reading this, was just something that I was keeping to myself. Like, people knew that I was reading this book. I didn't want to say anything about it until I had finished it because I didn't really know what my thoughts were, but not in a bad way. And I feel like I still need to marinate on this because this is being one of the first books that I read this year, and also probably one of the hardest books that I've read in a while. I know that this is one that's going to stick with me for a long time and be one that I have to kind of come to terms with. But overall, I gave this one 4 stars because I thought it was really geniusly executed. This author being his debut novel, I thought it was just really, I felt like a really grown-up debut novel. And I'm excited to see what this author does with his work. And what the system does is it takes inmates who have volunteered themselves to fight to the death for a chance of freedom or exoneration of their crimes, and so they get to live a normal life. But the irony of it is that after going through the process to become freed, to get there, you have to kill every single opponent that you come up against in this system, in like this really backwards like gladiator style death matches. And there's a lot more like aspects of the world that we get to see, like what the prisoners, or the links, as they're called, links of the chain, what they do and what their lives look like. We also get to follow some people that are outside the system, like spectators just watching and consuming the Chain Gang All-Stars media, because all of this that's happening is filmed and documented so that the public can watch it and the system can profit off of it. It's kind of the whole point. Also being to objectify prisoners and exacerbate the issues that the prison system already has as we know it. And we also follow some people that are working with this like coalition to end neo-slavery, as they call it, within the prison system that we see. So it's a very intricately plotted story. There's a lot of different points of view that come from the story, and it's very expertly woven in a way that I haven't read in a while. It's so dense though, because the subject matter is so heavy. I mean, it's about like humanity at its core, what we view as sacred when life comes into it, like, there's a lot of commentary by the author via footnotes regarding the context of some of the things that are brought up in the story. Like, the author has done a lot of research on the prison system as it actually exists today. So a lot of the footnotes are actually historically accurate or are real things in our world, which is scary. And like, this made me think of that, like, when I read this, I felt the same feeling that I had when I read The Handmaid's Tale, and that's one of my favorite books of all time. So if you get a lot out of reading something like The Handmaid's Tale, I think you would get a lot of reading something like this. I'm kind of speechless because I can't encapsulate very well how this book made me feel. It definitely just like touched me in a way that I didn't know something like this, with the tone and the setting and the subject matter that we were talking about, could be so touching in a way that it's not meant to be a cautionary tale. I think this is something that they should be teaching in schools. Maybe not to children because it's very gory, but it's not gory enough to be like gratuitously violent. If you don't like violence, you are not going to enjoy this, because that's what the majority of the book is. It's both, you know, external violence toward other people and also internal torturous violence being played out on these prisoners by the system. The only thing that I am disappointed about with this is that it took me so long to read, just because it wasn't really something that I was able to digest easily. But I don't really think it's meant to be something that you can like sit down and read in one sitting. That would be, I can't really imagine doing that. So yeah, I've been talking about this for long enough. So after I finished that, I was also reading Fourth Wing, and then I finished both of those, and I moved on to the next book that I wanted to cover in this video, which is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I read my first Ann Patchett book last year. It was State of Wonder, and I loved it. I listened to it on audiobook and I tandem read it, and that book was so good. It made me fall in love with Ann Patchett's writing. And so when this came out the latter part of last year, I knew I wanted to pick this up. And then when it showed up on a lot of almost every single best book of the year list, and multiple booktubers mentioned this as one of their favorite books of the year, as well as people I know in real life. So I knew that this one had to be in the video, and I was really excited to read it. So this book, it follows Lara, and she is a mother of 3, and she owns a cherry orchard with her husband in Michigan. And she is telling the story of how she became an actress for a brief period of time in her 20s to her children when they're in their 20s. And this is set during the pandemic, where they're all on the farm together and picking cherries and forced to spend time together, even though Laura and her husband are technically empty nesters, but all of her grown children have come back to help out on the farm and to isolate with them. It's set in summertime Michigan, which I've never been to, but just this description and the setting alone, as told by Ann Patchett, shot Michigan in the summertime to the top of my travel list. So Lara is retrospectively telling the story of her time at a theater company in Michigan, which is what brought her to Michigan and made her fall in love with it, called Tom Lake. The company is called Tom Lake. And she has a relationship with this guy, and she plays Emily in Our Town, which I've never seen. I've never actually seen Our Town, but it is a huge part of this novel. And so if you love Our Town, I think you will love this pretty much automatically. But even if you don't know what Our Town is or have never seen it, you're still gonna love this, because I did, and I've never seen Our Town. But basically, she's like telling the story to her children, and we get snippets of each timeline so perfectly timed. Like, I love the way that it was told. It never at any point, it didn't seem like, it was just so fluently done. I seriously have no notes for Ann Patchett's writing. Like, every part of it was just so exactly right. And yeah, I read this in 2 days. I actually listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by Meryl Streep. And Lord, let me just tell you, Meryl Streep was the perfect voice actress for this book. I mean, she did a spectacular job. She animated the narrator's voice so much you could hear her laughing. She made the narration very dynamic in her own Meryl Streep way, and I could just see it all playing out in my mind with Meryl Streep as the actress and of a movie of this, and it was perfect. It was just so good. It was so good. It was so 5 stars. I mean, I kind of knew immediately that it was going to be 5 stars, and I just loved it. I just loved it. I really have nothing else to say about it. I'm glad I picked this up, and so far this is my favorite of the video. I need to talk to you. Okay. I thought this would be like the least invasive way. Matthew's house is a little bit messy, so we're gonna sit on the floor and drink some hot cocoa, and that is a picture of us and Xena. If you can see, she's on the couch, so she might say hi. Got some brooms over here. I just finished reading Monstrilio. So that one was weird. It was weird. And okay, I didn't actually intro Monstrilio. I just kind of started reading it because I had it on audiobook from Hoopla, and my hold was about to be up in a few days, so I was like, all right, let's start it. And yeah, I don't think I ever updated you on where I was at. This video is kind of all over the place, and I'm sorry about that. I apologize for not introing Monstrilio, but I finished it now. And this one was it was shortlisted for a couple Goodreads reviews, I think. Horror and debut, I want to say. Could be wrong about this. I'm not checking my sources or anything. And what else? I think it was on Novelist, and I definitely saw I think it was one of Kayla's favorite books of the year and somebody else. So I was like, okay, we're gonna read this one. This is awesome. I've been wanting to read it for a little while, and I heard somewhere that the audiobook was good, and it was, because it was narrated by 2 different narrators, but they both narrate 2 different characters. So overall there's 4 different perspectives throughout the whole book, which was really cool, and I liked that. It was a very literary horror because the whole kind of family unit that they have was involved. So you have the mom, Magos, the dad, Joseph, Monstrilio himself, which is, I won't get into that because it's a little spoilery, and Lena, who is like a family friend but is also in love with Magos, and it's kind of I don't know. My only complaint was I don't really know what she has to do with this. Like, it just kind of seems like she was thrown in there as an extra character, even though her perspective does make things more interesting for sure. Beyond the bizarre framework that we have of Magos and Joseph, like, Magos takes a piece of her dead son Santiago's lung, and she like begins to nurture it, and it grows into Monstrilio. And so it's just about them reconciling with this, and Monstrilio becoming more monstrous but also more humane, and then more monstrous again. And it was so interesting. It's just very unique, intensely bizarre, but I really enjoyed listening to it because it just made it seem like everything was kind of normal, and that made you feel like you're going a little bit crazy. And I don't know, these people's lives are just so interesting, and we really don't even know that much else about them. So I just finished this book yesterday, so I'm still kind of like sitting with my thoughts, and I gave it a good 4 stars because it was pretty fantastic. I mean, like, I compared it a little bit to Mona Awad because her stuff is also bizarre AF, just like that. I feel like we get a little bit more exposition in Monstrilio, whereas with Mona Awad, you kind of just are left scratching your head forever. And this one was like not quite like there was a more cohesive ending to it. So, but the plot and the ideas and the themes and the weirdness really reminded me of Mona Awad, and I love her. So if you liked Bunny, if you liked Rouge, you should totally read this book. I just want to talk to you about my last book. I know I'm in bed, I'm comfy cozy. Okay, so Bright Young Women. I mostly listened to it on audiobooks about Ted Bundy. He's never actually named in the book. We mainly follow 2 characters. The first being the president of the sorority that Ted Bundy attacks. And she's, present in the house and responsible for everybody on the night that this happens. And her experience with it and how it affects her life. And then we follow another victim of Ted Bundy's that has a connection to, like, this character, and the other narrator have a connection through a third character. And in the audiobook, there's 2 different narrators for the 2 different, like, main perspectives, and they are both fantastic. They did a really great job. It was just beyond the narration, though, the storytelling, the actual story itself, was just really, really well done. We live in a world where true crime is absolutely everywhere. It permeates our culture. True crime is something that a lot of people are fanatics about, and it's really interesting because crime is a level of humanity that is so low, especially when it comes to murders, missing girls, kidnappings, tortures, rape, murder, all of that stuff. When it comes to, like, that type of true crime, it's a very morbid fascination that we have with it because, how far are you gonna go, right? I'm really not forming any cohesive thoughts about this right now. What I'm trying to say is that the way that true crime is very disturbing, personally, to me. There's a lot of problematic things about it, and this book it's interesting because it is about the true crime, and we do hear the story of what happened, but it's told in such a way that it takes Ted Bundy out of the spotlight. It takes him, like, he's never even named in the book because the story is not about him. It is about how his actions affected other people, but it's not about him. It's about the women that he massacred. And so it has this whole tone of, like, he was never the clever one. He was never the one with a bright future. He was never the one who, the press said that he was. And these girls, their story never got told. So that's what the point of this book was, and I thought it was just really, really fantastically written. Jessica Knoll has a real talent for making you feel uncomfortable, for making you feel like what she's telling you is important and urgent, and you know, I just really liked the way that I heard the story that the story was told in general. I felt furious the whole time. I was just enraged, especially towards the end, because we get more into like the court hearing, and the main character, you know, she witnesses this crime, and so it's about her having to deal with that in the like justice system, and also like, you know, in her personal life. And she's trying to get answers, and nobody's listening to her, and nobody takes her seriously. And it's just, oh my god, it is so frustrating. And Jessica Knoll does a fantastic job of making you feel that frustration. And I think Sutton Foster also does a great, the narrator of Pamela, who's the main character I'm referring to, does a really great job of making you feel that way too. And yeah, I thought it was amazing. The only thing is that the audiobook toward the very, very, very end has a brief moment where the defendant, I guess it's the only moment that the defendant actually like has a line of dialogue to say to you. And there's like a very brief moment where there's a male narrator who's completely separate from the other ones. I thought that was a little weird. Like, it didn't need to be that way. But everything else, I have absolutely no complaints about the writing or the story. I was engrossed from the very start. It only took me 3 days to finish, which might seem like a long time, but it felt like it was shorter than that. I wanted to read it all in one day. I gave it a 4.5 because it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling the way that Tom Lake did earlier in this video. But it was very close. I didn't feel like giving it a 4 was enough, so I gave it a 4.5, because it was spectacular. That's what I got. That was it. So the next time you see me, we're gonna be wrapping it up. We're gonna be wrapping it up, bringing it around town. Bring it around town. All right, so we did it. We read the best books of the year of 2023. I don't know. I feel like I was a little bit all over the place with this video, so I just wanted to give you a more comprehensive forum of my thoughts, I guess, to leave you with a good impression. Basically, I just want to get this train back on the rails a little bit and go over if I thought these books were really the best of the year. So the final rankings are as follows. At the top we have Tom Lake with a 5-star. Then we have Bright Young Women with 4.5 stars. Then we have Monstrilio with 4 stars, followed by Chain Gang All Stars with 4 stars. So those are kind of tied, but I'll get into that in a second. Fourth Wing, I gave 3 stars, and the last book in this video that I can't really tell you about, I also gave 3 stars and did not enjoy as much as Fourth Wing, which is saying a lot. Do I think they deserve the hype? For Tom Lake, I would definitely say yes, because I thoroughly enjoyed every second of my time with it, and I think that out of all the books I read for this video, it is the most deserving of the hype, and it deserves to be touted as one of the best books of the year. Bright Young Women, I also think definitely deserves the hype. Like I said earlier, I didn't really enjoy it as much as Tom Lake, but I definitely think that the attention it's getting is worthy of how the book actually sat with me at the end of the day. I think with both Monstrilio and Chain Gang All Stars, I recommend them. if you are the type of person that would like them. So that means if you are if you're okay with uncomfortable situations, then I think you should read it. And so that being said, I think more people should read both of these. I don't know that they were really at the top of the list when I was going through and looking at the books that I wanted to be in this video. I'm sure they showed up several times, but I don't know if they were like the top of the top, but they definitely should be up there. Fourth Wing. No, I do not think Fourth Wing deserves the amount of hype that it's getting. I think the other books that I mentioned previously should be getting more exposure and getting more attention, and they invite a more diverse reader base, I think, than Fourth Wing does. No, I don't really think that I understand the hype, and I don't think it deserves the hype, basically. I don't want to go on a rant about this. I think you should just find a better fantasy. Find a better fantasy. They're out there, I promise. All I will say at this point about the last book I read for this video is that I am confused as to why it ended up being an award winner. I did not personally enjoy it. I think it was, I'm borderline saying that it was a waste of my time. I don't recommend it, and this is probably the last you will hear me talk about it until maybe one day I can reveal what book it was. I think overall this video was successful because I had a 5-star book, and that's amazing. And I read and enjoyed the majority of the books that I read, and I still enjoyed Fourth Wing, even though I thought it wasn't, you know, a very good book at the end of the day. That's okay, you know, I still had fun. That's what matters, right? And, you know, I'm hoping you had fun too, because I'm glad I did this video. So thank you so much for being here, and I'd love to see you next time. And yeah, maybe next year's video will be a little bit better, but like I said, I'm happy I did this and I had a fun time. So yeah, I will see you in my next video.